He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride, and he don't care. He said that living with me was bringing him down, yeah. He would never be free when I was around. He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride, and he don't care. Don't know why he's riding so high. He ought to do right, he ought to do right by me. Before he gets to saying goodbye, he ought to do right, he ought to do right by me. I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today. The boy that's driving me mad is going away. He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride. He's got a ticket to ride, and he don't care. Don't care where. Think I'm gonna be sad. 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 Talking to myself and feeling old. Sometimes I'd like to quit. Nothing ever seems to fit. Hanging around, nothing to do but frown. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. What I've got they used to call the blues. Nothing is really wrong. Feeling like I don't belong. Walking around some kind of lonely cloud. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. Funny, but it seems I always wind up here with you. Nice to know somebody loves me. Funny, but it seems that it's the only thing to do. Run and find the one who loves me. What I feel is come and gone before. No need to talk it out. We know what it's all about. Hanging around, nothing to do but frown. say goodbye to love. No one ever cared if I should live or die. Time and time again the chance for love has passed me by, and all I know of love is how to live without it. I just can't seem to find it. So I've made my mind up, I must live my life alone. And though it's not the easy way, I guess I've always known I'd say goodbye to love. There are no tomorrows for this heart of mine. Sure, it's time to lose these bitter memories, and I'll find that there is someone to believe in and to live for, something I could live for. All the years of useless search have finally reached an end. Loneliness and empty days will be my only friend. From this day love is forgotten, I'll go on as best I can. What lies in the future is a mystery to us all. No one can predict the wheel of fortune as it falls. There may come a time when I will see that I've been wrong, but for now this is my song, and it's goodbye to love. I'll say goodbye to love. Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you. Why do stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. From the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true. So they sprinkled moon dust in your hair and golden starlight in your eyes of blue. That is why all the birds will sound follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. close to you. There was a time when I was in a hurry as you are. I was like you. There was a day when I just had to tell my point of view. I was like you.
Up the bow. Kids are asleep, so I keep it kind of low. And thank God I'm a country boy. I play Sally Gooden all day if I could, but the Lord and my wife wouldn't take it very good. So I fiddle when I can, work when I should. And thank God I'm a country boy. Well, I got me a fine wife, I got me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God I'm a country boy. My life a diamond, but you also never was one of them money-hungry fools. Rather have my fiddle and my thumb and tool. Thank God I'm a country boy. Yeah, daddy till the day he died. And he took me by the hand, held me close to his side, said, live a good life, play my fiddle and cry. And thank God, oh, such a boy. Well, my daddy taught me young how to hunt and how to whittle, taught me how to work and play a tune on the fiddle, taught me how to love and how to give just a little. Thank God, I'm a country boy, yeah!
Life waits for us, share it with me. The best is about to be. So much is left for us to see. And when I hold you, things will be alright. Baby, baby, your love made me bring this song, singing forever. Only yesterday when I was sad and I was lonely, you showed me the way to leave the past and all that's deep behind me. Tomorrow may be even brighter than today. Since I threw my sadness away, only yesterday, only yesterday when I was sad and I was lonely. Company, only I seem to find that no matter how the years unwind, still I reminisce about the girl I miss and the love I left behind. My eyes adored you, who I never laid a hand on you. My eyes adored you, like a million miles away from me, you couldn't see how I adored you. So close and yet so far. My eyes adored you, all my life I will remember. So I never let a tender eye adored you. Like a million miles away from me, you couldn't see how I adored you. Should have been inside regret. So close, I know I will never forget you, but child, I adored you. Though I never laid a hand on you, I adored you. Like a million miles away from me, you couldn't see how I adored you. So close,
Reggae Valley.
so close,
Jiggity jig. I've adored you, baby, really. 350 good afternoon. Whether you're a spectator or a sportsman, motocross will give you a thrill-packed weekend, a break from the city, and non-stop action. But the biggest and best thrills will be at the Super Bowl of motocross. For all the news in dirt bike action, stay tuned to KISS Radio each weekend. For the most in motocross, the Super Bowl of motocross.
Academy Award winners Jack Lemmon and Anne Bancroft discovered
that when I asked him about a funding organization, Chase Associates. Do you remember that? And then we heard about him as pastor of the Wheat Bible Church, and then for a time as an instructor at Trinity Seminary in Chicago, and then an interim pastor at our Deerfield Church. And now he has come to be the pastor of the historic Church of the Open Door in Los Angeles. I've noted that our conference churches and all of our conference leaders are taking advantage of his being here in this area, and I've noted already that he's going to be one of the speakers at our assembly at Seattle. But through the brief time that he has been here, I know that many other pastors in the conference have come to appreciate his ministry, and we sort of consider him a dean of pastors, a pastor's pastor. And I sincerely can't think of anyone that I feel could more fittingly be one to address a group of pastors for an occasion like this than Dr. Malcolm Crump, who I welcome now and commend to you as our speaker for the evening. Dr. Crump.
And some folks dare to say we look alike. He's much better looking, isn't he?
I hear no applause. Thank you, dear.
It's humbling, and I mean that, to be in the fellowship of fellow pastors and the powers behind the throne, their wives. It's humbling in the sense that I always know pastors are not only hungry for food for their bodies, but they are always hungry for help in their work. Who said the pastorate would be easy? Who said that it could be operated like we were taught at school? It just doesn't work that way, does it? Who said that pastors aren't human? How many times have you resigned in the last 6 months? Oh, you never handed it in, of course, but how many times have you resigned or thought of it? How many deacons have you punched? Or have you run afraid that they might get to you first? How many times have you, dear women in the homes, wondered, is it worth it? All we have to face, all we have to go through to keep him in there pitching. Because you see us at our most despondent times, as well as our most inflated times, and most of you, dear gals, are smart enough to know what to do in either case. You know when we need to be brought back to size, and you know when we're so far down we can't even find the bottom of the rug. You know the days that are hard for us. You know the situations that expose our weaknesses, and you know those weaknesses so well. And you haven't any notion how much we need you, and how heavily at times we lean. I want to say something tonight, I hope, in this sort of closed gathering of pastors and wives that will be helpful. I'd like to chat with you a few moments about this general idea, the pastor's place. I don't mean the man. I'm talking about the manse. I'm talking about the couple. I'm talking about the family. The pastor's place. I'd like to help you, first of all, see the exalted position of the pastor's place. Just the fact that God has given to you men a mate, given you someone to love, given you someone who loves you, given you someone who, though she may not have understood at the time she said yes, all that would be involved, is nonetheless sticking with you. Just think that God gave to the two of you a place to live. With most of you younger ones, I hope it's your own. With us older ones, it was a manse or a parsonage, where we couldn't even get the plumbing fixed unless it went through 17 boards and 42 committees. But God gave you a place to live, and all of the people remind you live there free. It's part of your wages, part of your pay. You deserve it. Then God was good enough to give you children. Most of us, at least. If you don't have your own children, you got a pack of them in the church. God gave you children to love, children to raise, only to discover that you raise them in a fishbowl. That every place they go, they're the PKs. They're expected to behave perfectly, and everybody knows they don't and can't. They're always compared with the others. Pastors' children are supposed to be better in school. They're supposed to be better at sports. And if they are, you've got trouble. But God gave you the little darlings to raise. And how often we as pastors have found ourselves putting the church ahead of our family, neglecting our wives and our children because we're so spiritual. In my early ministry, how often I couldn't take a vacation unless it was a meeting. I was guilty if I did. I ought to be preaching someplace. I ought to be leading souls to Christ. It was sin to go fishing or to play with my boys. But God gave you a family. With some of you that are nearly my age, the chickens have almost all flown the roost. And now you and the dear little lady are alone again. I hope you can say hello to each other and know who you're talking to. It's tragic how so many couples lose each other en route, though they live in the same house. And when suddenly they're alone again, they don't know how to talk to each other. Yet in the Scriptures, the family, the preacher's family, in the Old Testament, the priest's family, the spiritual leadership family held and holds an exalted place. In the New Testament imagery, marriage and the family, as you well know, is a picture of the relationship between Christ and his church. The Christian family is a miniature church. All of the laws of relationship that apply to the corporate body, which is the local church, apply very specifically to the preacher's place. And this means that the parsonage, the preacher's family, the place where you live, you, your wife, and your children, may be in the long haul one of your most effective pulpits. And the sermon you preach from that pulpit will probably be remembered more and better than any you have ever preached from the pulpit of the church. The exalted position of pastor's place. You are the God-ordained leader of the flock. Under Christ, you are his shepherd over that people. You must preach to them on Father's Day, on Mother's Day, on Children's Day, many other times during the year about family relationships. You must take an active interest in the Sunday school, from the nursery to the home department, all the way along the line. You must be interested in the young people growing up. You are interested in marriages and funerals. You're interested in all the things that touch the lives of people. And in one way or another, in all of these ministries, the pastor's place becomes central. The people know where you live. Whether you can hide it or not, they know how you live. If you love them, they beat a trail to your door. The pastor's place becomes a place of counsel. It becomes a place for laughter as well as the shedding of tears. The phone nearly rings off the wall, and sometimes you'd like to pull it out. The pastor's place, an exalted position in the community. Tragically, it has been neglected in so many instances, and along with homes all across our country, even the pastor's place has often fallen into disrepute. Some men have been so busy building the church that they forgot to build their home. Some men have been so busy helping other people's sons and daughters that they lost their own. Some men have been so busy counseling the troubled wives of other men that they almost forgot they had a wife of their own who needed and deserved to be loved. The pastor's place. But I'd like to have you also think about the enormous provisions that God has made for the pastor's place. When God separated the tribe of Levi in the Old Testament to officiate as priests in the nation, he made ample provision for their care, not only where they should live, but food supplies and everything else that would be needful to their lives. And it establishes a principle that when God calls and ordains and separates men to the gospel ministry and gives them flocks to shepherd, people to lead, in his sovereign grace, he makes ample provision for their needs. And at no point are the provisions more affluent and sufficient than they are in the provisions that God makes for the family life. Of all the men in the church, the pastor ought to know the resources for husbandhood. He ought to know that in Jesus Christ and in a living, growing relationship with Jesus Christ, he can borrow from Christ by grace the qualities that make a man a good husband, a good lover of a good woman. Do you believe your Lord's interested in that? I don't believe that the Lord teaches the celibacy of the clergy.
Hallelujah.
And I don't believe the clergy are a special lot either. We are just as human as you girls have found out. But I do believe that a man of God ought to know where he can go to get his attitude straightened out. He ought to know where he can go to get rid of his selfish poisons. He ought to know where he can go to get help in becoming an objective, altruistic type of lover rather than treating his woman as somebody God sent along to just gratify all his needs and be there to wash his clothes and fix his shirts, and always tell him how to dress. I had to smile today. Last night I took my wife to the airport to send her off to Chicago to see our newest granddaughter. And when I got home, it was after midnight when I got home last night, I went to go to bed, and I always keep my pajamas under the pillow. And I went to get my pajamas, and there was a note on them. I love you, honey. Oh, I tell you, that was great stuff. If I can't have her, I'd rather have the note. I got up this morning and I went into the bathroom to shave, and when I reached in the medicine cabinet to pull out my shaving cream, there was a note on the shaving cream. As you put this on your face, you're looking at the man I love. Oh, I never enjoyed shaving so much as I did right then. This afternoon I got home from the office about 4:30 and I quick showered and went to change my clothes. And when I opened the clothes closet, this suit was on a hanger with this shirt and this tie and a pair of socks and a note on it. Here's your outfit for tonight. I can't let you become too independent. And that just makes me love her all the more. It's sending me all over the house looking for notes. You see, the pastor and his wife ought to be the best lovers in the congregation. The pastor's place ought to be the happiest joint in town. It should. God's made provision for that. Psychologically and spiritually, the pastor's kids ought to have the most understanding, the most encouragement, and they'll probably be little devils. You were. You see, we get in our pulpits and we sound off to our people about the provisions God has made for them. Did you know they're for you too? You see, our people don't seem to understand that we're just like they are. They don't seem to understand that a pastor and his wife have the same problems that a plumber and his wife, or anybody else. They can't imagine that we guys ever have any selfish thoughts about our wives. They can't imagine that we have any battle with lusts. They think we live in ivory pious towers, you know, where we have no problems. I've had problems all my life getting my priorities straightened out. In my early ministry and even down to this present time, it's easy to become so absorbed in the work of the church and in the lives of others that you neglect the things that are nearest at hand and dearest and most important. Hit me some years ago that Probably when I became so senile and weak that I could no longer pastor a church, I might still have a wife. It'd be awful nice if she still liked me. And it suddenly dawned on me, maybe I should pay a little attention. I've got a young couple in my church now on staff, and the young fellow's all energy. Oh, boy, is he all energy. He's doing a tremendous job. And he just can hardly ever get home. He's got a beautiful wife. Oh, she is beautiful. She is lovely. I can say that. I'm old enough. And I had him in the office the other night. I said, do you spend much time at home? Oh, man, he says, I don't get much chance, Pastor, to get home. Well, I said, if you don't get back there and spend some time at home, you're going to find somebody else hanging around there before long. He said, what do you mean? Well, I said, listen, fellow, you know, the church was here before you came, and it'll be here after you've gone. And the deacons aren't going to go over and take care of your wife. And she's beautiful. And a life, why don't you go home? You know what he did? He looked at me and said, what'll I do? I said, if you don't know, it's already too late. God gave you somebody to love, do it. God gave you someone you can laugh with, live it up, have a good time. You don't have to get the deacon's permission for that. Aren't you glad? See? Enjoy it. And when you and the missus meet in church, after all, you can't sit together in church, but my land, the first thing I do when I go on the platform is look for my wife. If I can get that look from her, everything's okay. Man, I could lick anybody if I get that certain look from her. Last Sunday I went in and I looked and she wasn't there. I almost dropped. And I started looking all over that congregation. Where is my wife? I wonder if she's ill. I wonder what happened. After all, I came down to church with her. She went to her Sunday school class and I went to something else. And man alive, what's happened? She wasn't in her place. And just about 2 minutes before it was time for me to preach, I spotted her. She had changed her place. And hadn't told me. I almost had a heart attack. But as soon as I saw her and got that smile, we were in business again. Now, I'm not being facetious when I say that, because there's a gal that's listened to me preach for 36 years. There's a gal that has borne me 4 children. There's a gal that has encouraged me when I was so far down I didn't know whether I'd ever get up again. There's a gal who has deflated me when I was so cocky and proud that I thought I was far better than Billy Sunday or Billy Graham or any other Billy coming along. And I'm not about to look down on her. I need her. Boy, do I need her. I need her more than I need my deacons. I need her more than I need all the people in that church. And I love her. And my whole church knows it. And that's my best insurance. Provision. And God gives you provision for your kids. They're just like anybody else's kids. They're born sinners, even when they're born in a parsonage, even if they're born Baptist. They got to get saved, and they don't all get saved early in child evangelism. They don't all even make it at the family altar. Oh, they learn the language. And they have to be tagged off to Sunday school and church, and they have to go to the youth group. They're the preacher's kids. And they're supposed to behave, but they don't always. In Wheaton in 1960, we dedicated our new church sanctuary. I was so pleased with that. Everybody worked so hard on it. We'd been in it about a month. One Sunday morning, about 5 o'clock, my phone rang. Of course, I was up praying. You know, you get wakened out of a sound sleep like that, and you grab the phone and you pick it up, and the first thing they say, "Did I get you out of bed?" No, I'm not out yet. Well, anyway, it was my janitor. And he said, "Pastor, we got trouble down here at the church." Can you come right down? Well, I didn't know what it was. What's the matter, John? He said, we're flooded. I said, a brand new sanctuary and we're flooded? Yeah. So I got dressed as fast as I could and beat it down to church. Here we were, water all over the halls. I said, what happened, John? He says, all the toilets in this place are stuffed. We pulled tennis shoes, newspapers, rags, everything out of those toilets. The kids had gotten in there and stuffed all those toilets and then just flushed and flushed and flushed and flushed. There was water all over the place. We got it going. Nothing was permanently destroyed except feelings. And we got cleaned up in time for Bible school, and I had a little time to rest before service. And while I was preaching, I noticed that back in the foyer of the church there was some activity going on. All of my key laymen were back there. And when the service was over, before I could pronounce the benediction, a note was sent up to me. There is a meeting of the official board immediately after service. Please attend, Pastor. So I always shake hands anyway, whether there's a board meeting or not. So I went out, shook hands. After I got through shaking hands, then I went to the board meeting, and they were already in very serious discussion. Isn't it terrible what these kids have done in this church? Isn't it awful? You build a brand new sanctuary, costs you $500,000, and then some kids in this church have to behave like that. If we can find out who they are, we're going to kick them out. And I started praying. I hope they never find out who they were. I had the strangest premonition, almost like a woman's intuition. But I bowed my head, along with the others. We didn't find out who did it. They called in all the key rascals, including my son. They questioned everybody, and of course those kids wouldn't squeal on each other if they did know who was. 3 years ago, I was visiting up here in Bakersfield with a young man who's from Wheaton, who is the head of Youth for Christ up there, Johnny Penrose. He and his wife had us at their dinner table. And we were having a good time together. Johnny says, hey, Pastor, do you remember the time the church was flooded? I said, I sure do. Were you in on that, Johnny? No, he says, that was Marshall. That's my son. This is the first I knew of it. Also in that same church, on Dedication Sunday, just as I was finishing the morning sermon, right in the pulpit, an alarm clock went off. And I couldn't find the button. I never knew till 5 years ago who did that. That was the associate pastor's son. You see, preachers have got the same problem of raising their kids. But did you ever stop to think those kids need to be loved? They need to be understood. I never wanted my 4 children to grow up and be ashamed that they were preachers' kids. We never used that to get them to obey. I never said to my kids, you do this or do that. Remember, you're a preacher's kid. Never, never. And I can say to this very day that my 4 children, who are all grown now, 3 of them married, are not the least bit ashamed to be known as preacher's kids. Because we had a riot in our house. Oh, did we have fun. Some of the fun we had in our house would shock the deacons. If not the deacons, the deaconesses. I'm sure we got talked about. I'm sure we did. But we had a ball in our house. God has made provision for that. There have been many times I've had to kneel by the bed of my son and ask his forgiveness because I'd lost my temper, or hadn't disciplined in love, or had misjudged him without ever thinking of listening to what he had to say by way of explanation. A lot of business goes on, a lot of sanctifying business goes on in the preacher's place. But there's provision for it. In that place there needs to be forgiveness, there needs to be love, there needs to be understanding, there needs to be patience, there needs to be an immense amount of kindness. more than we have on board by nature. But we know where the cupboard is. We know where to get help. And if we get it for ourselves, we can far better teach it to others. Now, the final thing I wanted to say about the preacher's place was, I'd like to have you get excited about the potential of pastor's place, the possibilities. I'm getting pretty old now. I won't tell you how far along I am on this downward trail, but I'm on this side of 50. My troubles start from the top and work all the way down. There's, first of all, I get cold some of these mornings up here. I've been thinking of buying me a skull cap, something like that. See if we can't warm that beach up a little. And then these things give me trouble. I used to have just a plain magnifying glass in there. Now I have bifocals. And I'm getting a crink in my neck, going back and forth. I'm thinking about getting something else now. I don't know just what it'll be. Then you drop down to the big opening, and that's probably where I am most holy. There are more rooms to let there in that building than any place else in the anatomy. I went to the doctor the other day for a root canal, and he says we can do one of two things. He said we can either do that root canal or we can pull it. Well, I says, which do you advise? You're the doctor. Well, he says, really, preacher? He says, you've got so few left. I think we better save this one. I said, okay, save it. Then from there on, from here on down, it's a problem of support. Just finding the most decent way to hold everything in place and up. And that's just the external thing. When you get inside, there are all kinds of problems. But I'm still having a ball. Because when I see the kids, when I see the little ones, and they come up the halls of the church and pull on my coattail, hi, Pastor. They'll pull little tricks on me. One of the boys the other day, we're going by a little drinking fountain down there at church, and he says, hey, Pastor, wouldn't you like a drink? And I said, sure. So I went over, and just as I got my face down to take a drink, he shoved me. Shoved my face right into it. And stood there. He was one of the deacon's sons. Then you see these little junior hires. Oh, man, they're cute to watch grow. I just love to watch them as the little guys begin to become big guys. And the little gals begin to shape up. I just like to watch it, you know. Because there's business in that market. You know, you cultivate it. Of course you do. I know all the tricks of the trade. It starts in junior high now. It used to take place only in college. But things have changed. It starts in junior high. They start making eyes at each other. It's cute. It's silly, but it's cute. And then I watch the high schoolers. And they're so sophisticated about it, you know. You walk through the halls of the church and you bump into them once in a while. And they... Having a good time, Bill? But when I see these kids, and sometimes they have to be rebuked, but when I see them, I know it's only a few weeks until they'll bashfully be coming up toward me and saying, hey, Pastor, can we talk with you? It's no longer a long ways from a junior hire to a wedding. And I don't mean that in any evil sense at all, but the time is awful short. And I want those kids growing up under my ministry to know that the preacher's place is a happy place, that marriage is a beautiful thing, that we think very well of marriage and home. And these kids will come to me and they'll say, Pastor, what do you think about divorce? And we talk about divorce. Hey, Pastor, what do you think about all this free love today? And so we talk about free love. And some of the old maids in the church, they'll come to me and they'll say, you know, Pastor, isn't it terrible that some of the best ladies in the church are wearing pantsuits? I've got one dear old maid. She's so sweet. And she came to me some months ago. She's almost 60 years old. But she came to me and she says, Pastor, when are you going to preach against pantsuits? I said, I haven't been able to complete the outline yet. Why, she says, do you think a real Christian lady would wear a pantsuit in church? Well, I said, I tell you, I'd rather see some of them wear a pantsuit than I would the things they do wear. She says, you? I said, huh? Last Thursday night, she was in Bible study, and I noticed she had a new pantsuit on. I don't know who bought it for her. But I wanted to go up and say, 3 cheers, kid. You did it, didn't you, huh? She'd wanted to do it for 40 years. You know, there are a lot of preachers that are afraid to be human. They wouldn't want their church to find out that they're human. You know, the stinking potential in that preacher's place is example. It brings the stars out in the eyes of the kids.